The song What Do You Mean by Justin Bieber has a pretty cool tropical house style synth in there. So let's see how to recreate that sound. Let's first listen to the part. Now, the producers for this track did not synthesize the sound. They just used a loop from a Samplephonics pack called Organ House and Electronica. This is the original loop. And this is the edited version to match the track. Let's compare that to the original. Sounds pretty identical. Let's hear the loop with a kick and bass. Pretty cool. Okay, now we may not be able to synthesize this exactly the same, but let's give it a shot. It has a very FM style sound, so I'm going to use FM8 here for this. I'll turn off this EQ for now. Let's initialize the patch. New sound. Head over to the Operators tab. So just a sine operator for now. I'll crank up the level on that operator. Now it's very poppy, so let's shape the envelope. Add some release. Bring down the sustain. Less of an exponential curve, so we hear the sound a bit more as it dies. Okay, now let's turn on operator E. I'll set it to a ratio of 2. And let's make it modulate F at an FM index of 50. Very bright, but I want this to gradually die down, so let's bring down the sustain on operator E's envelope. Some release. Less exponential curve there. Sounds a bit more plucky now. Okay, now to add some buzz to the sound, I'm going to add feedback on F at about 20 and on E at about 30. Now it's getting a bit distorted and brighter. Let's bring in operator D. Let's make it modulate E at an FM index of 70. I'm going to set D's ratio to be 6. Now it's a really metallic sound. I want this, but just for a brief moment. So I'll bring down the sustain on D's envelope here, some release, make it really short, so we only hear that momentarily. That's good. Some feedback on D as well. Let's say at about 30. Now everything sounds too bright, so we can tone things down by using some key scaling. I'll key scale all the modulators. So E here, I'll bring down this middle breakpoint to about -22. So immediately those mid notes are less harsh. Let's do the same to D. Bring that middle breakpoint down to about -11. Let's also bring this last breakpoint down to -58 or so. Much more control tone we have now. Okay, back in the matrix, let's bring in operator C. Set it to a ratio of 2, and let's make it modulate F at an FM index of about 50. Let's shape its envelope. Low sustain, some release, and a pretty short decay. That sounds pretty good. Let's key scale this too, since it is a modulator. So head over to the key scale tab, open up C, and bring that middle breakpoint down to about -17. We have 2 more operators left. Let's turn them both on. Let's make A a carrier. Output level at about 80, so less than F. Ratio we can leave at 1, but B we will set to a ratio of 2. And let's make B modulate A at an FM index of 35. Shape the envelope for A. Similar pluck envelope. Same for B. A can have a bit more of a linear drop in level since it's a carrier. Let's key scale this modulator B. Bring the middle breakpoint down to -8. And last breakpoint here to -22. Now another key aspect of the sound is to have just a little bit of an attack on both the carriers. Zooming in a lot on the attack section. Now let's pull this forward a bit. I'll mute A so we just hear F. And maybe curve it a bit. Let's do the same for operator A, which is also a carrier. That curve really works pretty well. Make sure it's not too much, just a little bit on both carriers. Okay, lastly, let's add some effects. Tube amp. Though that sounds way too distorted, so bring down the drive completely. It's still distorting the sound, but in a very, very subtle way. Some shelving EQ, brighten up the sound a bit with the high shelf, and tone down the lows with the low shelf. With the peaking EQ, I can accentuate some mid-frequencies. Let's actually do a boost and a cut right after to get that Baltic style EQ shape. Some reverb to wrap this one up. Maybe we can thicken the sound up a wee bit by bumping up the unison in the master section up to 2, and also up that detune just a bit. Let's hear this with the beat. Okay, let's compare with the original. Okay, not exactly the same, and I don't have that reverse sound in there. Now, one thing I forgot was to turn on the key sync so all the operators start at the same phase. Get a bit more consistent sound with that. This is without. Sounds a bit thin at times. Much better with it on. We can also add some velocity sensitivity to the two carriers, F and A. Now the synth loop is a bit thinner, so I added this EQ to cut out the lows. Still a bit different. I think it's just a matter of tweaking the EQ to get it more exact. And also the reverb is a bit different. But that's the closest I have been able to get to the sound. If you can get closer, let me know in the comments below. Now, if you want to learn more FM synthesis techniques, check out my sound design book in the iBook store. I have 10 sound design examples in there. Also check out my bootleg remix of this tune, linked in the video. And lastly, subscribe for more free content.